Look around this room. What do you see? I see potential. I see possibility. But here's what troubles me. Too many people with amazing gifts are sitting around waiting for someone to discover them, waiting for that magic moment when their boss finally sees their value, waiting for that perfect opportunity to land in their lap, waiting for someone, anyone, to save them from their ordinary lives. Let me tell you something that might sting a little, sting a little. He's coming. Nobody? Not the government, not your boss, not your parents, not some miracle or stroke of luck. Nobody is coming to save you. And that, my friends, is the best news you could ever receive. Why? Because once you truly understand that nobody's coming to rescue you, you're finally free. Free to rescue yourself. Free to take control. Free to build the life you've always wanted. The moment you stop waiting for someone else to change your circumstances is the moment your life begins to transform. I spent years studying successful people. You know what separates them from everyone else? They don't wait. They act. They understand that they alone are responsible for their success, their happiness, their future. They don't blame their past, their circumstances, or other people. They look in the mirror and say, it's on me. My life is my responsibility. Some of you might be thinking, Jim, that sounds harsh. Maybe it is, but it's also the truth. And I've always believed that the truth, even when it's uncomfortable, is the only solid foundation you can build a good life on. So let's start with this uncomfortable truth. Life isn't fair. Some people are born into wealth. Some have natural talents you don't have. Some have connections you'll never have. That's just how it is. And you can spend your whole life complaining about it, or you can get to work with what you've got. The successful people I know didn't waste time wishing things were different. They assessed what they had, their talents, their resources, their opportunities, and they went to work. They didn't have time to feel sorry for themselves because they were too busy building something. You see, there's a certain type of person who's always looking for reasons why they can't succeed. Their excuses are ready before they even try. I don't have a college degree. I wasn't born into the right family. The economy is terrible. I'm too old. I'm too young. They collect these excuses like some people collect stamps, proudly displaying them to explain their lack of progress. Then there's another type of person. When faced with an obstacle, they don't look for excuses. They look for solutions. They ask, how can I work around this? Instead of saying, this is why I can't move forward. These are people who succeed, not because life is easier for them, but because their response to life's challenges is different. I once knew a man who grew up in terrible poverty. His family had nothing, no connections, no advantages, but he refused to use that as an excuse. Instead, he used it as fuel. He worked harder than everyone else. He studied more than everyone else. He saved more than everyone else. Was it easy? Not at all. There were times he wanted to give up, times he questioned whether all his effort would ever pay off. But he kept going, year after year, small step after small step, and eventually his persistence created a life that looked nothing like where he started. That's what happens when you stop waiting to be rescued and start rescuing yourself. Your life begins to change. Not overnight, but gradually, consistently, powerfully. And now let me address something important. Recognizing that nobody's coming to save you doesn't mean you have to do everything alone. We all need teachers, mentors, friends, and partners. We all benefit from the wisdom and support, but there's a world of difference between seeking guidance and waiting for rescue. One empowers you, the other weakens you. The first step toward changing your life is changing how you think about your life. Most people vastly overestimate what they can accomplish in a year, but drastically underestimate what they can accomplish in a decade. They want instant results, and when those don't come, they give up. They conclude that success isn't possible for them. But success isn't an event. It's a process. It's the accumulation of right choices made day after day, year after year. It's showing up when you don't feel like it. It's doing the work even when no one is watching. It's investing in yourself, even when the returns aren't immediate or obvious. I tell people all the time, don't wish it was easier. Wish you were better. Don't wish for fewer problems. Wish for more skills. Don't wish for less challenge. Wish for more wisdom. The challenges you face aren't going away, so you must grow to meet them. And how do you grow? By getting to work on yourself. By reading books that challenge your thinking. By seeking out people who inspire you to be better. By setting goals that stretch you beyond your comfort zone. By developing habits that strengthen you rather than weaken you. The greatest project you'll ever work on is yourself. Most people spend more time planning their vacations than planning their lives. They invest more in their cars than in their minds. They work harder on their lawns than on their character. Is it any wonder they feel stuck? Let me tell you about a lesson I learned early in my career that changed everything for me. I was complaining to my mentor about how hard I was working and how little I was making. I thought I deserved more recognition, more money, more success. You know what he told me? Jim, you don't get paid for the hour. You get paid for the value you bring to the hour. That hit me like a ton of bricks. I was focused on my effort, but the marketplace rewards value, not effort. From that day forward, I stopped asking, how can I get more? And started asking, how can I become more valuable? That shift in thinking changed my entire approach to work and life. You see, the marketplace is brutally honest. It doesn't care about your feelings or your intentions or your desires. It only cares about the value you create. The good news is that value can be created in countless ways. You can learn new skills. You can solve difficult problems. You can serve more people. You can create systems that make things better, faster, or The question isn't whether you can create value. Of course you can. The question is whether you're willing to put in the work required to do so. Most people aren't. They want the rewards without the work. They want the harvest without the planning. Life doesn't work that way. I remember meeting a young man who told me he wanted to be a writer. I asked him what he'd written lately. Nothing yet. He said, I'm waiting for inspiration. I told him what I'll tell you, don't wait for inspiration. Be the inspiration. Professional writers write whether they feel inspired or not. Professional athletes train whether they feel motivated or not. Professional business people solve problems whether they feel energetic or not. Success isn't about feeling. It's about doing. It's about showing up day after day and putting in the work, especially when you don't feel like it. That's what separates the professionals from the amateurs. Now let's talk about your personal philosophy. Your philosophy determines your attitude. Your attitude determines your actions. Your actions determine your results. Everything starts with your philosophy. How you think about life, success, work, relationships, money, time. Get your philosophy right, and everything else tends to follow. What is your philosophy about work? Some people see work as a burden to be avoided whenever possible. Others see it as the core of a meaningful life, a chance to create value, to grow, to serve. Which philosophy do you think leads to greater success and fulfillment? What is your philosophy about learning? Some believe that education ends when school ends. Others understand that learning is a lifelong commitment, that in a rapidly changing world, those who stop learning start dying. Which philosophy better prepares you for the future? What is your philosophy about money? Some see it as something to be consumed as quickly as possible. Others see it as a seed to be planted and grown. Which philosophy leads to financial freedom? Your philosophy isn't something abstract or academic. It's intensely practical. It shapes every decision you make, every habit you form, every relationship you build. And here's the amazing thing. You get to choose your philosophy. You get to decide how you'll think about the fundamental aspects of life. I urge you to develop a philosophy of personal responsibility, to understand that while you can't control every circumstance in your life, you can always control your response to those circumstances. I urge you to develop a philosophy of continuous growth, to commit to being better tomorrow than you are today. I urge you to develop a philosophy of contribution to measure your success, not just by what you get, but by what you give. With the right philosophy guiding you, taking action becomes natural. You don't need someone to push you because your own beliefs pull you forward. You don't need external motivation because you're driven by internal purpose. You don't need someone to save you because you're too busy saving yourself. Let me share something powerful. Most of us underinvest in ourselves. We'll spend money on all sorts of things: entertainment, clothes, cars, vacations, but hesitate to invest in our own development. We'll pay for cable TV without blinking an eye, but think twice about buying a book that could change our lives. We'll spend hours scrolling through social media, but claim we don't have time to learn a new skill. The most successful people I know are relentless self-investors. They understand that no investment yields higher returns than investing in themselves. They buy the books, they take the courses, they hire the coaches, they attend the seminars. They know that what they know and can do today isn't it. And here's the beautiful thing about investing in yourself. No one can take it from you. Your knowledge, your skills, your character, your habits, these are assets that can't be stolen or destroyed. They appreciate rather than depreciate. They open doors that would otherwise remain closed. But Jim, someone might say, I don't have the money to invest in myself right now. I understand that times can be tough, but there are libraries full of free books. There are countless free resources online. There are mentors willing to share their wisdom. If you approach them with respect and a willingness to learn, the question isn't whether you can afford to invest in yourself. The question is whether you can afford not to. Now, let me be clear about sums. The path of self-reliance isn't always smooth. You will face setbacks. You will make mistakes. You will fail, sometimes spectacularly. That's not just okay. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of success. Every successful person I've ever met has a failure resume much longer than their success resume. The difference is that they don't let those failures define them or deter them. They extract the lessons, adjust their approach, and try again. They understand that temporary defeat isn't permanent failure unless you stop trying. I remember failing so badly in my first business venture that I could barely pay my bills. It was humiliating, painful. I questioned everything about myself. But looking back, that failure was one of the best things that ever happened to me. It forced me to re-examine my approach. It humbled me enough to seek guidance from those who were succeeding where I had failed. It taught me lessons I couldn't have learned any other way. When you stop expecting someone to save you from your failures and instead learn to extract value from them, you become unstoppable. Because now, neither success nor failure can derail you. Both simply provide information that helps you adjust your course. Let's talk about creating your own opportunities. Most people wait for opportunities to come to them. They want the perfect job opening, the perfect business idea, the perfect relationship to just fall into their lap. But that's not how life works for most of us. We have to create opportunities, not wait for them. How do you create opportunities? By developing rare and valuable skills, by solving problems no one else is solving, by building a network of relationships based on genuine connection and contribution, by being so good at what you do that people can't ignore you. I know a woman who wanted to change careers but couldn't get her foot in the door because she lacked experience. Instead of complaining or giving up, she volunteered to do free work for several companies in her desired field. Was it easy? No. She was working her paying job during the day and doing this volunteer work nights and weekends. But within 6 months, she had built a portfolio of real-world projects and developed relationships with people who could open doors for her. One of those volunteer gigs turned into a job offer, and she's been thriving in her new career ever since. That's what happens when you stop waiting for opportunities and start creating them. You take control of your destiny. You become the author of your life story rather than a passive character waiting for the plot to unfold. The discipline of consistent effort is perhaps the most underrated factor in success. We live in a world obsessed with hacks, shortcuts, and overnight success stories. But real, sustainable success isn't built that way. It's built through consistent, dedicated effort over time. Think about it this way. If you saved just $100 per month for 40 years and earned a modest 8 return, you'd have over $300,000. Not from some get-rich-quick scheme, but from the boring magic of consistency. The same principle applies to every area of life. Small efforts, consistently applied, yield remarkable results. I've seen people transform their bodies not through extreme diets or workout plans they couldn't sustain, but through modest, consistent efforts over time. I've seen people build successful businesses not through some flash of brilliant inspiration, but through showing up day after day, serving their customers, and gradually expanding their capabilities. I've seen people develop amazing skills, not through innate talent, but through dedicated practice over years. Consistency isn't flashy. It doesn't make for exciting stories, but it works when nothing else does. When you commit to consistent effort in pursuit of worthy goals, you set forces in motion that can change everything about your life. Now, let's talk about something that many motivational speakers neglect: your environment. You can have the best intentions, the strongest willpower, the clearest goals, but if your environment is working against you, you're fighting an uphill battle. Your environment includes the people you spend time with, the information you consume, the physical spaces you occupy, the tools you use, the systems you rely on. All of these factors either make it easier or harder for you to become who you want to be. The people around you are especially important. Jim Rohn, that's me, famously said that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Their attitudes, habits, and expectations gradually become yours. Their limitations can become your limitations. If you're not careful, their dreams, or lack thereof, can shape your dreams. I'm not saying you should abandon friends or family who aren't as ambitious or growth-oriented as you are. But I am saying you need to be intentional about finding and spending time with people who lift you up rather than drag you down. People who believe in you even when you doubt yourself. People who challenge you to be better rather than encourage you to stay comfortable. Similarly, the information you feed your mind matters enormously. What books are you reading? What podcasts are you listening to? What shows are you watching? What conversations are you having? All of this is mental nourishment or mental junk food. Just as your body reflects what you feed it physically, your mind reflects what you feed it intellectually and emotionally. Take a hard look at your environment and ask yourself, is this environment helping me become who I want to be? If not, have the courage to change it. You might not be able to change everything at once, but even small environmental changes can have powerful effects over time. As we come to the end of our time together, I want to talk about what might be the greatest benefit of taking responsibility for your own life. Freedom. True freedom doesn't come from having no responsibilities. It comes from taking full responsibility. When you understand that you, not your circumstances, not your past, not other people, determine your future, you experience a kind of liberation that nothing else can provide. Most people never taste this freedom. They remain trapped in a victim mindset, forever at the mercy of external forces. They might blame their parents, their education, their boss, the economy, the government, or just bad luck for their situation. And as long as they believe that someone or something else controls their destiny, they remain prisoners. But when you embrace the truth that nobody's coming to save you, that your life is your responsibility, you break those chains. You stop being a prisoner of circumstance and become a creator of circumstance. You move from being acted upon to being an actor. You shift from powerlessness to power. Is this path more challenging? Absolutely. It's much easier to blame others than to take responsibility. It's much easier to wait for rescue than to rescue yourself. It's much easier to complain than to create. But the easy path leads to a life of frustration, resentment, and unfulfilled potential. The challenging path, the path of self-responsibility, leads to a life of growth, achievement, and deep satisfaction. So I ask you, which path will you choose? Will you continue waiting for someone to save you? Or will you put on your work boots and save yourself? Remember, your life will not improve by chance. It will improve by change. And that change begins with accepting that nobody's coming to save you and finding the courage to say, that's okay, because I can save myself. Let me tell you about something I call the seasons of life. Just like nature has its seasons, spring, summer, fall, and winter, so does your journey. There's the season of planting, the season of cultivating, the season of harvesting, and the season of rest and planning. Most people fail because they don't understand these seasons. They want to harvest in the summer when it's not yet time, or they neglect planting in the spring and wonder why nothing grows. Or they refuse to prune and weed during the growing season and are surprised when their garden becomes overrun. You must understand which season you're in and do the work that season requires. Right now, some of you are in a planting season. It's time to learn new skills, forge new relationships, try new approaches. It might feel like nothing is happening because you can't see immediate results. But below the surface, roots are forming. Foundation is being built. This invisible growth is essential for what comes next. Others of you are in a growing season. The seeds you've planted have sprouted, and now they need your attention. This is the season of showing up every day, of solving problems as they arise, of staying the course when it would be easier to quit. The growing season tests your commitment, but it's where your character is formed. Some of you are in a harvesting season. You're starting to see the fruits of your labor. Opportunities are appearing. Relationships are yielding benefits. Skills you've developed are creating value. This is the time to maximize your momentum, not to coast. Too many people ease up just when they should be pressing forward. And yes, some of you are in a winter season, a time of apparent dormancy, reflection, and preparation for the next cycle of growth. Maybe you've experienced failure or loss. Maybe you're reevaluating your direction. Winter seasons aren't comfortable, but they're necessary. They clear away what isn't working to make room for what will. The key is to recognize your season and do the work it requires. Don't fight the season you're in. Use it. Each season has its purpose. Each season prepares you for the next, and none of them last forever. Now, let's talk about something that might surprise you. The importance of rest. Yes, I've been telling you to get to work, and I mean it, but effective work requires effective rest. The most productive people I know aren't those who work 24/7. They're those who work with intense focus and then rest with equal intention. Think about a farmer. He works incredibly hard during planting and harvest seasons, but he also knows the value of letting fields lie fallow sometimes. He understands that soil needs to regenerate. The same is true for you. Your mind, your body, your spirit, they need periods of renewal. The difference between successful people and unsuccessful people isn't that successful people never rest. It's that they rest strategically. They use rest to recharge rather than to escape. They rest not because they're lazy, but because they're committed to sustaining their energy and creativity for the long haul. I learned this lesson the hard way. Early in my career, I was proud of working longer hours than anyone else. I wore my exhaustion like a badge of honor. But then I noticed some. My best ideas, my clearest thinking, my most effective problem solving didn't happen when I was running on fumes. They happened when I was rested, reflective, and calm. So yes, work hard, but also rest well. Read books that nourish your mind. Spend time in nature. Be with people you love. Reflect on your journey. Celebrate your progress. These aren't luxuries. They're necessities for sustained success. Another vital truth that most people miss: success requires saying no. We live in a world of endless options, endless distractions, endless requests for our time and attention. If you say yes to everything, you end up accomplishing nothing of significance. Successful people are as defined by what they refuse to do as by what they commit to doing. They understand that every yes is a no to something else. Every commitment of time, energy, or resources to one thing is a decision not to commit those same resources to something else. So what are you saying no to? What good things are you willing to decline so you can say yes to great things? What activities are you willing to eliminate so you can focus on what truly matters? These aren't easy questions, but they're essential ones. I remember meeting a talented young woman who wanted to start her own business, but never seemed to make progress. When I asked about her typical day, I discovered it was fragmented across dozens of activities. Social media, meetings, emails, phone calls, errands. None of these activities were bad, but together they left her no time for the focused work her business required. I challenged her to eliminate 50 of her activities, to say no to things that weren't aligned with her primary goals. 6 months later, she had made more progress on her business than in the previous 3 years combined. Not because she was working more hours, but because she was working on what mattered. This brings me to a final thought. Legacy, what will you leave behind? How will your life matter? These aren't questions just for the elderly or the wealthy. They're questions for anyone who wants their life to count for something. Legacy isn't just about money or achievements. It's about impact. It's about how you changed the people around you. Did you lift them up or drag them down? Did you add value to their lives or take value from them? Did you leave situations better than you found them? The greatest legacy you can leave is in the lives you touch, the people you mentor, the children you raise, the colleagues you inspire, the customers you serve, the community you improve. These human impacts often matter more than any material success. And here's the wonderful thing. You don't need permission to build a legacy. You don't need to wait until you're successful by conventional standards. You can start creating positive impact right where you are with what you have, starting today. So I ask you again, nobody's coming to save you. Will you see that as a burden or as an opportunity? Will you wait for rescue that isn't coming, or will you rescue yourself? Will you blame circumstances, or will you create new ones? The choice is yours. It always has been. Now get to work. Your future is waiting, and it will be exactly what you make it.